You finally sit down at the end of the day. The work is done, the messages are answered, and your phone is finally quiet for the first time in hours. Nothing urgent is happening anymore. But somehow, this is exactly when your brain decides it's time to wake up. Thoughts start appearing out of nowhere. That awkward thing you said a few days ago. The email you might have written the wrong way. Something you forgot to do. A random worry about the future. You tell yourself you just want to relax, maybe watch something or lie down and rest. But your brain refuses to slow down. It keeps jumping from one thought to another like a browser with 20 tabs open. If this happens to you, you're not strange and you're definitely not alone. A lot of people experience this exact moment every single night. During the day, life is loud and busy. There are conversations, work tasks, notifications, traffic, and small decisions happening constantly. Your brain spends the entire day reacting to things. But when the world finally becomes quiet, your mind suddenly has space to think. And that space is exactly what wakes it up. The human brain was never designed for long, peaceful moments with nothing happening. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on noticing problems early. A strange sound in the distance, a change in the environment, or something that felt slightly off could mean danger. So the brain developed a habit of constantly scanning for problems. Even today, that ancient system is still running in the background. The only difference is that modern problems look very different. Instead of worrying about predators or storms, the brain now worries about things like work, money, relationships, or whether we're doing enough with our lives. To the brain, uncertainty feels like a potential threat. And when things finally get quiet, it starts searching for anything that might need attention. That's why the moment you try to relax, your mind suddenly becomes busy. It isn't trying to ruin your evening. It's simply doing the job it was built to do. Have you ever noticed that your mind feels calmer when you're doing something simple like driving, washing dishes, or walking through a store? Your thoughts feel quieter because your brain is focused on a small task. But the moment you lie down in bed with nothing to do, your brain suddenly decides to replay every memory you've ever had. It's like a late-night talk show that never ends. It might even bring up something embarrassing from years ago, as if your brain thinks now is the perfect time to review it. Another reason this happens is because the brain hates unfinished things. Psychologists often say the mind loves closure. If something feels incomplete, your brain keeps bringing it back into your attention. Maybe it's a conversation you didn't finish, a decision you haven't made yet, or a task you plan to do tomorrow. Your brain keeps nudging you about it, almost like tapping you on the shoulder. It's not trying to annoy you. It just wants certainty. That's why a small thought like, "Did I lock the door?" can suddenly feel important when you're lying in bed. Even if you know you probably locked it, the brain prefers complete certainty over probably. And the funny part is that the more you try to push thoughts away, the stronger they often become. When you tell yourself not to think about something, your brain keeps checking if you're still thinking about it, which accidentally keeps the thought alive. It's similar to telling someone not to imagine pizza. Suddenly, pizza becomes the most interesting idea in the world. Your brain works the same way with worries. When you try to force yourself to stop thinking, your mind keeps circling back to the same ideas. That's why relaxing can feel harder than it sounds. The brain doesn't really have an off switch. It has a system that constantly scans, analyzes, and predicts. But here's something interesting. The brain often relaxes when it feels understood rather than when it's forced to be silent. Imagine lying in bed fighting your thoughts, telling yourself to stop worrying and just sleep. Your mind feels like it's doing something wrong. Now imagine a different moment where you simply notice the thoughts and think, "Oh, my brain is doing that thing again." Suddenly, you're not fighting your mind anymore. You're just observing it. And strangely, that small shift can make the thoughts slow down. When the brain doesn't feel like it's in a battle, it often calms itself naturally.